this is Crystal here and
Kathy Humphrey.
And we are hosting an open house today and just doing some quick training about open houses, the before, during, and after, simple things that you probably should know walking into an open house. And I'm just going to simply have a conversation. Hopefully this helps you as you learn more about Imagine and moving forward. So
Fantastic.
let's briefly talk about the beforehand and the intentions of an open house.
Okay.
So what is very misleading and not more or less a myth about open houses is that you do open houses and you're going to sell a house going there. That's not true.
Okay.
That's what people think. You got to walk into it knowing that it is a marketing opportunity. So a marketing opportunity being beforehand, you want to door knock the area, invite the neighbors, which we've already done. You say, hey, your neighbor has got an open house. Who do you know that may want to move closer? You don't ask them yes or no questions. You ask them, like, who do you know? How long have you lived here? That kind of stuff. And then naturally they will tell you if they are looking to move or if they have a friend or family that want to move closer. We've actually gotten about 3 leads out of this area that are looking to sell and don't have a current agent. Oh. So that's the beforehand. You never walk into an open house just thinking the open house is going to be the end all be all. The open house, you have to look at it like that opportunity.
Okay.
So the opportunity is there. We went through it, and then with door knocking, you're going to have some of the neighbors come in. It's just another great way to market and have conversation. So at the open house, well, let's back up before the open house. The perfect timing before the open house begins to put up signs, I would say, is about 2 or 3 days in advance. So like a Thursday, a Friday beforehand, you put the signs out. That Sunday, you put the balloons on, and that's going to draw more people in. It's going to be top of mind that they're going to have enough time to decide whether they want to go or not. That being said, sometimes there's HOAs or COAs or other kind of associations that don't allow it until right before or right after. Obviously, comply.
Right.
And if there's other, like this open house in particular, we have had people every day since Wednesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and today be doing open houses. So obviously that's not ideal to put open house signs up days in advance because we are sharing this.
Okay.
So that being said, here in a minute, we're going to go put out some open house signs. We brought the balloons. Balloons are a great way. Some places don't allow them. So again, just read the CC&Rs to be able to make sure that you're complying within what's already written. And if you don't know where to get those, you can get those from any title company online.
Okay.
Or an assessor. And so, or the MLS even often has it. You have a question?
Does this house have an HOA?
No, it does not.
Okay.
So we're good. No. And that's also another thing. So walking into an open house, you always want to do your research. You want to know what the average price per square foot is. Obviously, comp it out. You find out what the actual value is. My quickest personal way, there are 1,000 correct ways to do it. The quick way for me is to find out the average price per square foot. For here, it's $246 per square foot. Real talk, it could be $256, but if you sound confident, anybody believes you. So it's $246 a square foot. And so we are priced at $399.9. And so
it went down to $389.
$389.9, that's good to know. And beforehand, you print out something on our MLS, just a quick sheet. I don't recommend creating your own fancy ones because you want all the disclaimers on there. You want the license number, you want the brokerage number, you want the brokerage phone numbers. You don't want to be not complying with what the DBPR requires of us. So just make sure that you're printing it off the MLS, and it's going to save a lot of headache. Another thing you can do is partner up with a title company. Title companies will often sponsor things like they'll give a $150 gift card if you're in like a luxury open house and they want some people to come in and you write your name down and yeah, it's great. So talk to title companies. So if you have kids, make sure that you give an hour afterwards for a babysitter to still, even grandkids, make sure that they're able to be watched for that extra hour because sometimes you can book that appointment right afterwards. Staying in contact, staying in front of them is important. So just a little psychology behind the reason you want to book an appointment. So communication is a major part of our industry. About 7% is words through text message. About 35% is through tone of voice, because you can say, all right, let's go eat. And or all right, let's go eat. Or all right, let's go eat. All three of those, they're very different. And so people are able to sense the eye twitch, the muscle movement. They're able to know when you are or are not interested in what they're hearing. So just make sure that you're trying to book an appointment face-to-face with them as soon as possible to get them to sign to work with you. So again, you're not looking necessarily to sell that house, although that would be great, and everyone, obviously that's the goal.
Right.
But you don't want to come off as desperate. You don't want to come off as commission hungry, because that comes off and people don't want to work with that.
Right.
So just get them to sign in, have your cards and your sign-in sheet up at the front on whatever stool you brought. Make sure to bring a pen as well, a few pens. If you would like, obviously bring used and new pens, and then also bring Germex.
Yeah.
So those are
just a good idea to do.
just a few tidbits. But after you book an appointment from an appointment, you always want to mirror and match whenever you're talking to people face to face. If you talk too fast, that can cause people who talk slower to have anxiety. I know I can do that, but this is just my tone and my speed. So if I see somebody who talks slower, typically I'll slow down and I match them.
Right.
Because then they're more comfortable. On the flip side, if you talk slow and you're around somebody who actually talks a little faster,
right,
they have a tendency to get frustrated and want to put words in your mouth before you say them.
Yeah.
So just be mindful.
Okay.
Try to mirror and match whoever's coming in with speed, with loudness, with softness. If they are, real talk, if they're wearing double masks, don't stand next to them. Stand not 6 feet back, stand 10 feet back. You are not the expert in the open house. So if you've got a contracting license, know that a contracting license doesn't make you the expert in that moment. You are a licensed agent. They are represented as a licensed agent. So just say, that's a good question. Let me get back to you.
Okay.
If you know the answer, always look at all of the behind the scenes, the seller's disclosures, like know that the roof is 11 years old. No, there's no HOAs. No, there's no insurance, flood insurance, those kind of questions you need to know ahead of time.
Yes.
Because they will get asked. So there were a few things that were missed in the video just due to timing that we ended up talking about when we were setting up for the open house before, during, and after. So just to wrap this up so that you're able to fully grasp some of the conversations that we had, I wanted to fill you in, like at the open house, make sure the sellers know they need to keep it clean, they need dishes out of the sink, they need laundry in a place that's not seen, trash lifted up, and into the dumpsters. You want it to have very good curb appeal. You want to make sure there's not a lot of clutter, so not a lot of books or mail laying out and around. Besides, you don't want your personal info out there for everyone to see anyway. Regardless, that's something you have to tell sellers. They don't always just know to do that. Another thing, don't turn on any kind of music. People have different tastes, and so just because you like hard metal or you like classical or some rap, people have different tastes, so just make sure that we're being mindful of that. Typical things, obviously you want all lights on. The next thing I'm going to tell you is very controversial, but I'm going to tell you anyway because here's all my dirty secrets. If you turn the air down and make people more comfortable, because let's be real, it's really hot here all the time. So turn the air down a little bit, expect the heat to go up because the door's constantly opening and shutting. It is very rude to leave the air low. So if it's set at 85 degrees and you turn it to 77, make sure you're turning it right back up to 85 before you leave. Windows, if the windows are newer, go ahead and lift up the blinds and let them see the new windows. If the windows are older, you can just open up the blinds so you want light to come in. The point is to make it as light and bright and pretty as possible. So if the windows are broken, obviously we're not going to hide anything. You don't want to hide stuff, but you want to make sure that you're presenting that property in the best way possible, which also means all lights on. If you have fans, turn the fans on. As long as they're not like wobbly and look bad, I would turn the fans on, get that air going a little bit. Bring toilet paper. I know this seems silly, but sometimes kids do crazy things. Even if an adult asks to use the bathroom and it's very obvious that you shouldn't be using the bathroom, kids sometimes still do. So make sure you're bringing extra toilet paper for those moments. Always ask the seller beforehand if it's okay that somebody uses the bathroom. You want to have that conversation before the open house ever happens. Majority of the time, I would just say best bet is to tell them we are asking people to not use the bathrooms. It's not open to the public, but there are emergencies like a training 3-year-old that might need to use the potty. So just kind of be mindful of that. Know what's on the disclosures before you go in. You don't want to find out that the HVAC is brand new and you should have known that, and that could have been a good selling point for someone. Or always be willing to say that you're not the expert in anything, whether it's like HVAC, termites, roofing, but you are always able to give an answer. So just get their contact information, say, hey, look, I'd love to give you an answer. I want to make sure I'm telling you correct information. Let me get back to you on that. And always confirm with somebody, whether it's another professional, whether it's with the sellers, or whether it's with your broker or whoever. Don't always bear all the responsibility on yourself. You want to always have in writing from somebody else, a professional, backing you up on whatever information you're gonna give. Unless it's on that disclosure and you're able to read it off right then and there. If it's something like, oh, has this had termites in the past 30 years and you don't know, seriously just wait and then give them the answer that you can once you have your ability to be able to give the best answer. Bring cards, printouts, and a sign-in book. You want to make sure that your sign-in book has like a stool with it, because sometimes when you're in a vacant open house or if the house is staged, there's not always like an appropriate place to sign in. So just bring a stool and then your own sign-in book. I always at the top, thanks Katie by the way for what I'm about to say, I always put our broker's name and their phone number at the very top so that people are able to see an example of like, oh, just write your name and number. That's all you really want. You don't need their address, their birthday, or anything crazy. The less they have to write down, the more likely they are to give it to you. And phone numbers are a lot more likely to convert people into clients than an email. So just get name and phone number. And when you leave, this isn't just a showing like that you're with a typical buyer. Sometimes you're not in the room that other people are in. So it's important that you check the windows, make sure they didn't unlock them, check doors, check the fences. You want to make sure nobody walked through and left a fence open, flush the toilets. I can't tell you how many times people don't flush toilets and it's disgusting. Turn out all the lights, no trash laying around from other people. Put the air back where it was. If you turned it down, turn it right back up. And again, double check everything. You want to pick up all signs and then drop off the signs, whether you're borrowing them, whether you're keeping them in your garage, or they're going in the back shed. Whatever you're doing, pick up the signs that day. Don't leave them out. Don't be lazy. You don't want the city taking them if they think that they've been out too long. So that's just more or less a wrap up on some of the stuff that you missed whenever we were chit-chatting. So to wrap this up, so we gain a full understanding of expectations of an open house. The point of an open house is to build relationships to get a signed agreement. And again, what that process looks like is it is focused on relationship building with the subdivision, the homeowners around, and the people that walk through the door. So, of course, we want to sell the house. Of course, that's the goal. Now, if you have to pick in between building a relationship with the person in front of you or pointing out the fact that the vent pipe is no longer sticking out of the ceiling and that it was a great job well done, I would say focus more on making it personable and asking questions about the people in front of you and less about the house itself. Now, if they ask questions, obviously sell the house. Do what you can to say the details, but building that relationship and booking an appointment from it is the most important and imperative part of an open house. So follow up with the neighbors, the people that you door knocked or cold called beforehand or sent out mailers to, the ones that came through the open house and the ones afterwards saying, hey, we had a great open house. We had multiple people interested in buying this property. Are you considering moving? Those kind of conversations are the ones that you have before, during, and after. And absolutely follow up with the people that have signed in during the open house. You want to make sure that you're calling them. Hopefully you've booked an appointment already whenever you were face-to-face during the open house, but follow-up is key. You want to make sure that you're getting feedback from those people. The people that came through the open house, some of them already have agents, and you know this. Some of them are just nosy neighbors, which is great. And some of them are actually interested in purchasing or selling a house soon. Regardless of where they stand, it's important to get their feedback. Sometimes you give feedback to your seller and your seller doesn't necessarily hear you when you tell them, hey, there's books out, hey, there's mail out, everyone thinks it's cluttered, or hey, you know those beer cans that have ants crawling out of them, you should probably throw those away. They don't always receive that well from you, so you might be able to get some feedback from the people that have walked through the house and say, hey, this isn't coming from me, this is a third party saying this. And when they hear it comes from a third party also, it gives it a little bit more credibility, so you're able to tell them, hey, it might be priced too high, or hey, it might be time to do a price improvement or price reduction or what have you. So just make sure you're following up with everybody and you're able to give your sellers the feedback. And following up with those people that are on that list, of course, if they have representation, don't take them away from representation. If you think you're a good match to work together, it is a good time to say, hey, let's go ahead and book that seller's consultation, or hey, let's go ahead and book that buyer's consultation. And we could have a whole seminar on buyers, we could have a whole seminar on sellers, we could have a whole seminar on follow-up and listing agreements or buyer's agreements, but that's not what this is about. It's about the open house. So on that note, I'm going to keep moving forward. So just make sure that you are asking for that appointment when you call them. And that is where you're going to get your signed agreement. When you're face-to-face with them, saying, walking them through the steps on what to expect before, during, and after that, then, you'll sign the agreement, and that now you've converted somebody from an open house to a client that you're actively helping. Just a disclaimer, these are simply my thoughts. These are in no way anything that I've been told by our brokerage to say. So if you do or don't agree with it, please take it up with me. I'm always happy to explain myself. And if there's something that I need to change in my verbiage, I'm always happy to change as well. So anyway, thanks for listening, and I hope this was great and helpful. So good luck at your open houses. I'm sure you'll kill it.